It begins tonight. Full preview Game 1, Wolves Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. Plus, you'll meet NDSU's newest track star by way of Canada. Hot Mike starts now.
Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mike. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to the slop edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNDN in Rapid City, and Inforum.com. How have we made it to May the 20th already? What is happening? May is almost donezo. Then we're on to June, and then before you know it, football season is here. That's kind of how it works. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hot Mike on a rainy and sloggy and just kind of gross Tuesday morning. Quick update. We got rained out on T-ball last night. Not thrilled about it. Jackman took it in stride way better than the old man did. So no T-ball last night. It ain't happening tonight. So we got our fingers crossed. We're back tomorrow to open up the 2025 season. He's excited, but he went off and played with a bunch of those new toys he got from his birthday party the other day. So, didn't matter. Welcome to the show. I can't say the Twins took it in stride as well because I'm not sure when they're going to play ball either. We'll show you in a minute what happened with their game last night with Cleveland. They're supposed to play basically a game and a half today, and it doesn't look much better. The rain that we're getting here, they're getting in the Twin Cities, so that ain't promising for them to play. Granted, the Guardians are going to be back in Minneapolis, so they have an opportunity to make these games up later on during the summer, and that's, I'm sure, what they're looking ahead for today. There's actually potentially some big news out of the Twin Cities today. The NFL owner meetings begin today in Eagan, Minnesota, at the Minnesota Vikings, basically village that they built down there, where there are some rather large rule changes on the table, going back to the tush-push argument that was brought up. The Packers were the one to bring it to the table this time around and actually have changed the letter of the law on what they would like to see and get some momentum behind it, which we'll discuss later in the show. That's on the table. Potential NFL playoff seeding for the postseason is on the table as well. That also goes after what happened last year, primarily involving the NFC North, considering they had 3 teams that won 11 or more games. So the Olympics is on the table as well. For those that missed the story late in the week, that flag football is an Olympic sport in 2028. With the Olympics being in Los Angeles, they want to let the NFL players participate in it. That is going to be voted upon today. I do not anticipate anything on 18 games, but just throw this nugget out there for people keeping an eye on it. And if anything happens while we're on the air, we'll, of course, pass it along. But if you were to look for the Super Bowl in 2028, that's the conclusion of the 2027 season. All it says, wherever you look, it says February 2028. There's not an exact date on it yet. And the reason for that is I think the powers that be are hoping to get 18 games signed off for the 2027 regular season. They have a site. The game is going to be in Atlanta at the Falcon Stadium, whatever that is, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I think it is. There used to be the Mercedes-Benz Dome, and now that's changed for the Saints. But anyway, that's where the game is, but there isn't a date. That's why I believe the owners are hoping that that's where the 18th game will come into place. would be February of 2028, which then would be President's Day weekend, which we've talked about for at least the better part of 4 to 5 years of going to President's Day weekend and making that a holiday. So I don't believe that's going to be discussed, but you never know. So anything that comes out of Egan, while we're on the air, we'll pass that along, and we'll give you the details of what the Packers proposed on the Tush Push coming up later on in the show today. Packed with a fun program. You're going to meet a couple of fun guests on our show today, including NDSU's newest track standout who swept the high jump competition. We showed highlights of Arienne Birch yesterday from Vermilion and winning the Summit League high jump. She's just wrapped up her sophomore year. All she's done is win all 4 Summit League championships in the indoor and the outdoor and the high jump. Other than that, has been good. It's a heck of a run to start for her collegiate career. An interesting backstory on her. That's coming up later on in the show this morning. Also, busy day yesterday on the basketball recruiting side of things. The Bison men picked up their first commit for 2026. The Bison women offered I can't say Class B anymore, a Class A standout in North Dakota. Another one of the 2027 class. You've heard of the heavy hitters in 2027. A lot of them are here in town. There's another one that just muscled her way into the conversation. You'll meet her coming up later on in the show. But I mentioned we start with the Twins from last night. They got the game underway against the Guardians. It was bark at the park night. Anything better with lightning in the area and dogs at the ballpark. Great combination last night at Target Field. And they started the game. Twins actually trailed and then put some runs together on a Ty France RBI single. This from Carson McCusker, who's the newest call-up, launches the bat all the way to left. I've never seen a bat go that far on the field. The man is 6'8". You can't. He's a huge human who's been tearing up in St. Paul, called up after the Buxton and Correa injuries. Watch this again. That's like the javelin the other day. Look at this thing. I mean, that's not barely into left field. That's way into left field. Tie game at 1. Willie Castro delivers into the gap in right center to score Harrison Bader to make it a 2-1 game, and then the rain came. This was the first delay in the second inning that delayed things for over an hour. They started play again in the 4th inning, and then it really started coming. I love the head groundskeeper here on the left with the shrugging of the shoulders, like, I don't know. It ain't going to be good. I mean, if you're a lip reader, you probably figured out exactly what was going on. The tarp came back out again, this time at about 9 o'clock last night, and the email came in at 9:35 last night from the Twins that they had banged the game in terms of they suspended it, that they did not postpone or cancel it because it started. So, as you see on the big screen there at Target Field, that Game 1 will be resumed today at 5 o'clock. I'm not sure how that's going to happen, with the Twins leading 2-1 in the 4th inning, and then the second game would follow after that at about a half hour later and play the full game afterwards. If anybody was going to the game, they can receive admission to both games. Now, that's a good deal on that. So, that's the deal on the Twins from last night. If they do play today, the second game will start probably about 7 o'clock tonight. Gavin Williams will be the starter for Cleveland. Chris Paddock will be the man for Minnesota if they play that second game. It's going to be a bullpen game to resume the first one. Bailey Ober out after 3+ innings, and we'll see what the Twins do from there. But again, the weather looks like it's going to be a huge factor again today. I would anticipate if it's what we're getting, they're getting down in the Twin Cities. I'm not trying to be a storm tracker meteorologist here, but forecast is not looking good, that there may be a chance they don't even play at all today and maybe try to get 2 games in tomorrow. So, because the Twins have an off day on Thursday before they begin their next series over the weekend, before they head out on the road to go to Tampa and Seattle, if I remember correctly. So that's where we're at with the Twins and the Guardian series last night. I know some were like, well, why did they even resume the game after the rain delay in the second? Well, they felt like they had a window to play. That window was even shorter than they thought, because they only got about, I think, 15 minutes of game action in before it got it stopped again. So that's the latest out of Target Field. Meanwhile, tonight it begins. Western Conference Finals start in Oklahoma City. Minnesota Timberwolves, OKC Thunder played 4 games during the regular season. Each team won twice. They played back-to-back games in February. And those 2 games, now they didn't have either team had their full lineup. But those 2 games that they played are intriguing to look into. Because this was right after the All-Star break when the Thunder and the Wolves played in late February. OKC came into Minneapolis, had a big third quarter against the Wolves in that game, and ended up hanging on and knocked off Minnesota that night. Then they came back and played the following night in Oklahoma City, and that was one of the craziest games of the Wolves season. Minnesota trailed by 25 points in the second half. Chris Finch benched Anthony Edwards. Edwards couldn't make a shot. He's on the bench. The 2 rookies, Terrence Shannon Jr. and Rob Dillingham, were fantastic, as was my guy's Jaden McDaniels. If he shows up, the Wolves are winning this series. Just going to say it right now. It was wild. SGA was great like he normally is. He scored 39 in this game. But there was this play from Ant at the rim that was the play of the game that had the Wolves rally to get the game to overtime and then fend off the Thunder in overtime and came back and won it 131 to 128 in a game that they were down by 25. Now, for note of this, in that game, Julius Randle did not play. Rudy Gobert did not play. Chet Holmgren did not play in those 2 games, or in the second game at least, the game in OKC. I don't think you're going to expect Rob Dillingham to play a whole lot for the Wolves. I don't think you expect a whole lot of Terrence Shannon Jr. to play for Minnesota. But that's the backstory of how those games played out in February. And that's a lifetime ago. I showed that simply just to illustrate that 25-point comeback was amazing. Obviously, the Thunder have the home court advantage. Now, they're coming into this much like the Wolves came into this a year ago. You'll remember Minnesota played 7 games against Denver. 7 long, hard-fought games. Game 7 was a thriller. One on the road, had a day off, maybe 2, and then started the Western Conference Finals at home, and then Dallas, we know what happened. Now, here are the Thunder, just playing 7 tough games with Denver, and I get it. Game 7 wasn't close. They don't have to travel. They stay at home. But now have Minnesota, who's been sitting around for a week. The Wolves beat the Warriors last Wednesday. So they've had 5 full days off. You'll remember that happened the previous round for the Wolves, who had a week off before they played Golden State. And Game 1 wasn't pretty. You can compare and contrast about rest and rust all you want. I think Minnesota would prefer to, because they looked like they were out of gas. By the time Game 2 rolled around and Luka did his step back on Gobert, that they were done. Dallas had won the first 2 games on the road, it certainly seemed like the Wolves were cooked. Now, OKC's a different team. This is a young team, a deep one. This actually is intriguing to watch to see how much the benches can have an impact in this series. You know, Golden State played 13 guys. They were very good. OKC there's dudes coming off the bench. Aaron Wiggins good. The other Jalen Williams is good. Isaiah Joe can play. Alex Caruso can play. And the Wolves bench has got to be better. Dante's got to hit a shot. He's got to hit his shots. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that's SGA's cousin. He's going to have to play well. Nas has not been great in the postseason. Nas has got to be really good. Nas has got to play like the 6th man of the year like he was a year ago. They do that, they can win this series. Just think of it, though. They are in the Western Conference Finals for the 2nd year in a row. You saw the series schedule. If we could show that again real quick. Game 1 tonight, and it's every other day now. There's no, 2 days off, and then we're playing. It's every other day. So tonight, then Thursday, Saturday night on WDAY back in Target Center, and then Memorial Day night for Game 4. Game 5 would be a week from tomorrow back in OKC. ESPN and ABC have the TV rights to it. So tonight's on ESPN, Thursday night ESPN, Saturday night our game on WDAY. You're in the Final Four. If you're in this opportunity, and last year I certainly felt like, wow, it's just awesome. The Wolves are here. Now they've played dominantly that you expect them to be here, and now you got to take advantage. You don't know when you're going to get back here. Yeah, it's great they've been here 2 years in a row. Indiana's thinking in the same boat. The Pacers are back for the 2nd year in a row. They got swept by Boston in this round. The Wolves lost in 5 to Dallas. You have to take advantage of it. The Knicks haven't been in the conference finals in 25 years. They're opening up game 1 with Indiana tomorrow night. This is what we have left of the 4 teams. Wolves and Thunder on the Western Conference, and you think of how they battled through here of these 2 teams. The Thunder won 68 games during the regular season, right? They were the best team. They won the West by 15 games. Doesn't seem like they've played like that during the postseason. They lost 3 times to Denver after they swept Memphis in the first round. And that Denver team had 2 players. It was Jokic and Murray at the end. Meanwhile, in the East, Indiana dusted Cleveland in 5. Cleveland won 64 games during the regular season. They were the best team in the East. Pacers knocked them out. And the Knicks, who now have home court advantage, that'll start tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden. That is going to be something else. Just going to say it right now. Are sitting there. They have not been to the NBA Finals since 1999. That was the strike-shortened year with, I believe, when Tim Duncan and the Spurs won their first championship, beating Larry Johnson and the Knicks. It's all coming together. Knicks-Wolves NBA Finals. Let's make it happen. Starts tonight. Looking forward to that. Much more coming up later on in the show. We have a packed Tuesday lineup here this morning on a rainy Tuesday. I haven't been on a Tuesday in a couple weeks, so it's great to see our guy Mike McFeely be back at 9:35. I'm sure we'll chat some NBA chatter and some other topics Mike and I haven't yet discussed on the show. That's coming up at 9:35. I mentioned you'll meet Arienne Birch coming up at 10 o'clock. NDSU sophomore high jumper who just won the high jump at the Summit League meet 2 days ago in Vermilion. A chance to continue her season on at the NCAA Regionals, and her interesting backstory of how she came from Canada to Fargo. That's coming up at 10 o'clock. At 10:35, we'll welcome back to our show Kenyon Wingenbach, who has got a new gig. Yesterday announced he's taken over as the assistant coach of the Concordia women's basketball team, joining Kim Wager's staff, stepping down after 4 years as Cheyenne's head girls basketball coach. Of course, they won the EDC championship a couple years ago. Been to state a couple years. He's stepping down after 4 years of guiding that program and now getting into the college games. We'll talk with Kenyon coming up at 10:35. That and a heck of a lot more here on a busy Tuesday morning. We come back, you'll meet one of North Dakota's rising girls basketball players that Jory Collins has his eye on. That's coming up when we come back on Hot Mike on a rainy Tuesday. Back after this. Welcome back, everybody, here on a Tuesday morning. Rain is coming down. Ain't going to stop anytime soon. Okay, a couple of basketball notes wanted to get to locally after chatting on the Wolves Thunder, which we'll get back to coming up in our next segment. The recruiting doors are open for not only 2026, but also 2027. And we've chatted about this a handful of times, especially on the women's side, that locally, and I'm talking the state of North Dakota, that 2027 is a pretty fruitful class. You have Jordan Christopherson from Horace High School, who's been offered by NDSU, UND. Marley Falcon from Bismarck Legacy, who just picked up an offer from South Dakota State. UND offered her yesterday. The Bison are already in on her. 6'2" guard from Legacy who can shoot the three. One of the top local area player. If the Jacks are in, tells you the level of player that she is. Last night, player that we've seen on our airwaves the last couple of years received a Bison offer out of South Prairie High School. Riley Rutledge announced yesterday that she had been offered by Jory Collins and NDSU. Rutledge is a guard for the Royals, South Prairie Max, that co-op just south of Minot. Second team All-State selection this past year for the Royals, who finished third at the state tournament. Good size for her. Again, she's just finishing her sophomore year. They have to remind everybody on that she still has 2 years to play. She's either a shooting guard, point guard, 5'8", but can shoot it, and has been on the Bison radar for a bit. You can see, and she's been really good for that South Prairie team that we've seen at the Class A tournament each of the last 2 years. South Prairie lost in the semifinals to eventual state champion Valley City. They end up winning the third-place game. So the Bison now have a handful of local offers out to 2027 players. And this is important for a couple of reasons. A, obviously they believe that they're talented enough to play. B, get your foot in the door early on. More often than not, athletes, when they will commit to a place that believes in them first. Seen that time and time again, whether it's football, basketball, you name it, the sport, that's usually the case, depending on the offer. That if the player then elevates themselves to a spot where it's above that particular level, then you say you tip your hat. But at that point, you also make sure, at this day and age, with the way the portal works, you do not burn any bridges. Say if it doesn't work, hey, we're here. Door's always open if you want to come. It's important on that. So we'll see. But Riley's Division I recruiting may just be picking up. Congrats to her picking up an offer from the Bison. We're going to visit with her either later this week or early next week of her coming on the show. Meanwhile, for the Bison men, Dave Richmond is still working on. We're going to have Dave here tomorrow on the show. He'll be joining us here at 10 o'clock. Looking forward to that, which I'm sure will be a spirited conversation. Normally is between the two of us. He's trying to finish out the 25-26 roster. He's already got a head start in the 26 recruiting class. Yesterday, guard Amir Danforth announced that he has verbally committed to play for NDSU. Danforth is a guard out of Rockford, Illinois. Bison have had some success in that state. 6'1", scored 44 points in a game after he scored 42 in a game earlier this year. It was an all-state honorable mention, average over 20 points per game. Had an offer from Northern Illinois that went out earlier this spring. And the Bison are continuing some NBA lineage here that they've had of the players they've assembled on the roster. Obviously, Max Marley, who you met last month the son of Dan Marley, is transferring in. Markai Strickland, who announced that he's transferring in from Western Michigan, the son of Mark Strickland, former NBA player. Danforth is the nephew of current Houston Rocket standout Fred VanVleet. So there's some lineage there. VanVleet also played for the same high school that Danforth plays for here in Rockford, which is Auburn, where he plays his high school ball. So NDSU's on the board for its first commit of 2026. Now, it's kind of hard to look that far ahead, frankly, because you don't know how many guys are going to be back on the roster from one year to the next. But you still have to recruit high school guys. Richmond has made that a point to me and anybody who will listen that there's still going to be a developmental program. They're adding so far 3 high school guys, potentially more for the incoming class. The guys are going to be here next month to start the 25-26 season. I think that's still, you need to do that. And then also looking at the power schools aren't even looking at the high school ranks anymore. That there could be some really, and there will be really good high school players that are just out there that aren't being recruited because the top schools are looking at how do we trade or how do we get guys from Florida to come to our roster. Or Florida's looking and saying, okay, can we get Kentucky's best guys? Can we get Houston's best guys? That's just the name of the game now. So there could be some neglected, really talented high school players out there for a level like the Summit League, for a level like the Missouri Valley, like the Horizon League to potentially come in and get. We'll see. But Amir Danforth is part of the Bison 2026 recruiting class, and you'll meet him coming up, I believe, Thursday. He'll be joining us on the show. So a couple of quick basketball notes to keep you updated on. Bison also made a couple other offers on the men's side that we'll update you on if we have time coming up later on in the show. We'll break. We come back. We haven't chatted with Mike. At least I haven't on our show in a couple weeks. We got plenty to catch up on. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns on a Tuesday morning back on WDAY Extra right after this.
Oh, it's Mr. McFeely.
I have seen the future, and he was wearing number 5, and I ain't talking about Robbie Grimsley, folks.
Took out the muffins, took out the trail mix, took out the cookies. They stole the monster cookies.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Let's do some broadcasting.
Yeah. Email to hit right off the hop. Dom, can you ask
hello,
Mike?
Dom. How are you?
Can you ask
Good to
Mike
see you.
how his feelings are after what happened in the McFeely household after the Celtics got beat on
Yeah,
Friday?
it's been a tough couple days, but the consolation prize is, as my wife said, it's the Timberwolves are still playing,
going?
and so the Celtics for her are 1A, and the Timberwolves are 1A-.
I don't know if you want to share what your wife thinks about the Knicks on it.
I'm not sure I can. I actually just texted her when I got here because I haven't talked to her about it because I've been avoiding the topic altogether. One of those awkward family things. It's like, you don't talk about your crazy uncle and you don't talk about the Celtics losing. You know.
Stay away from it.
It's
what is it? It's
away from
Tuesday,
politics,
so Saturday, Sunday. Yeah,
politics, religion, crazy uncles, and the Celtics losing. You stay away from all those.
Especially to the Knicks.
Yes. I just texted her and said, so are you rooting for the Knicks or the Pacers?
Oh.
And I didn't mean it in a bad way. I kind of wanted to get her reaction, half of what I could probably read on the air. But she's all in on the Timberwolves now.
Oh, man.
And she despises the bald guy from Oklahoma City.
Alex Caruso?
Yes, despises him.
Why?
Just because he's just a... He's just one of those guys.
He is one of those
right
guys.
There. Alex Caruso is the guy that you hate when he's on the other team.
Wolves fans are going to find that out, or maybe that don't watch the NBA a lot, that are now hooked out on that. They're going to find out Caruso is a pest.
Yes, and he's the guy that you hate when he's on the other team, and you love him when he's on your team. He's one of the. Everybody knows multiple guys like that, whether you played with them in high school or against them in high school, or they're on or against your favorite team now, college, professionally, all those things. It's just, and this was proven, by the way. By the way, my wife is also a massive, and she loves when I talk about her on this television program because she hears about it from her friends and everybody else. But for years, she's a huge Vikings fan, all right? Had her heart broken as much as anybody else with the Vikings, right? And so and Brett Favre was just the Antichrist, right? And it turns out she was right about that.
Pretty accurate.
But be that as it may, back when he was playing for the Packers and the media and television and all, it was, Brett Favre. Oh. And she would just sit and turn the air blue talking about Brett Favre, much like she did about Aaron Rodgers as well and other athletes. I kept telling her, if he played for the Vikings, you all would love him because he'd be with the Vikings. Yeah. He's feisty and he's a riverboat gambler and blah, blah, blah. No, blah, blah, blah. And I was called every name in the book, and it's just like, okay. So what happened then? Of course. In 2009, was it
2009.
When Brett Favre came over from the Jets at the time,
Jets,
which nobody cares about. People forget he even played for the Jets because nobody cares.
It's true.
He came over to the Vikings, and all the Vikings fans, including my wife, just, oh my God, it's so exciting. And he hit the unknown guy for the touchdown. Greg Lewis against the Niners at the Metrodome.
Yes.
And that's the moment when everybody sold out and bought in to the Brett Favre hype train.
Very true.
And how'd that turn out for everybody?
Not great.
No. Yeah. So anyway, he was one of those guys. My point was that you hate when he's on the other team. You love when he's on your team throwing touchdowns to Greg Lewis.
I was nearly going to text you Friday.
And Alex Caruso does suck.
I was out listening to the game on the radio, and I hadn't heard an update on the score, but then I heard Baylor Shireman was in the game. Like, that may not be great for me to
I thought
check in on how
the Celtics had a rally in the home game after Tatum got
won
hurt.
Game 5.
And I thought it would be more competitive, but they had like 40 points in the first half or something.
Yeah, it was.
As I was on the golf course again, looking at my phone. I think the wind was blowing like 70 miles an hour. And it was 38 degrees. I'm going,
good day.
Well, I'm going to the golf course. Wrapped up in my parka and my ice fishing mittens out there playing golf. Just anything to not be there. I'm looking at my phone going, ooh, they have 40 points in the first half. This is not good at all.
So we actually did the show the day after the Wolves-Thunder game in February when Ant got benched. The Wolves were down 25 and came back and won that game. We were doing the show the next day. Now, Gobert and Randall didn't play in that game. I don't think Chet played in that game either for OKC.
No, he was hurt for a while.
But is there anything do you take out of those matchups, that one for this series or no?
No. That was a completely different team the Wolves were at that time. I mean, people wanted Julius Randle to be traded. Remember that?
People being me.
Yes,
I did.
Yeah. You and Eric Peterson, I mean, between you and him come to my office every day and go, Julius Randle stinks. It's like, no, he's fine. He's fine. Everything will be fine. Everything is fine. And people, some, not many, but some people saying Chris Finch should be shown the door.
I was not one of those.
A completely different team the Timberwolves are.
Oh, man.
They could easily win this series.
Yeah.
This is a pretty even matchup, I think. And Chet Holmgren is a Minnesota guy, the son of a former Gophers player back in the Gophers glory days. Dave Holmgren. It's going to be fun. Alex Caruso, just wearing the bald headband wearing guy, just
SGA is what he is, and he's fabulous.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is one of those guys who, unless you're into the NBA like I am and my wife is, and a select few others are around Fargo-Moorhead, he's a guy, if you haven't seen him play, he is going to should win the MVP award this year. Just fantastic. Just fantastic scorer. Fantastic basketball player. Oklahoma City is a tremendous defensive team. The Wolves are going to turn it over too much. You're going to get mad watching these games because the Wolves turn it over anyway. Yeah. They're going to turn it over more. But Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards, the whole shebang, they're going to be pretty good. It's going to be a pretty good series.
The fact that the Timberwolves are in the Western Conference Finals for the second year in a row, just you have to wrap your mind for a franchise that never had any success to now have this in back-to-back years.
20 years of complete and utter irrelevancy.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I've ever seen a professional sports franchise in my time in this area, which is forever, 58 years. I don't know that I've ever seen a professional team be less relevant than the Timberwolves were like 5 years ago.
Correct.
I mean, 4 years ago.
Yeah. Prior to them drafting Ant.
I mean, it was just you couldn't find them on the radio in this town.
Correct.
They did not have a radio deal in Fargo-Moorhead. Nobody had them on there, and that's not the be-all, end-all. But it shows that like nobody. I mean, just nobody. There's no demand. It just nobody wants them. It's free programming, for God's sakes, for local radio stations.
It fills 3 hours.
It fills 3 hours and gives you something to hang your hat on. I think WDAY, when the Forum still owned it, I think they picked it up.
That's right.
For a hot minute. And that was like the first time in years that the Wolves were on.
Right. I totally forgot that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they used to be on with Mike Capel. Like Mike Capel.
That's right.
Was it Alan Horton used to be on with Mike Capel?
Like
would do like a weekly bit because we were an affiliate.
That. Yes. Yep.
I mean, I turned my radio on and go, "Who's that?" Oh, he calls Timberwolves games.
Yeah.
Oh, didn't know that.
By himself.
And still has for years.
Did that.
It's pretty entertaining to listen to him. He'll talk to himself.
He's fantastic.
Talk to himself
Alan
for 3
Horton
hours.
Is top notch. But again, it goes to show you where. And then to embrace this, because I mean, you have Ant, you have what they've built, but no guarantee this is going to happen again. There's no guarantee that you can get back here. You got to take advantage of this.
I heard what radio show, The Common Man. I was listening to yesterday at lunchtime, driving home to get a bite to eat. And he is who he is. And he throws out the question, would you, trade Anthony Edwards if you could guarantee they'd win one NBA championship? And they're doing all these, would you trade Justin Jefferson for one NFL Super Bowl title? Would you trade? And the answer is, no way. Why wouldn't you? I mean, but stop.
I'm just thinking.
They haven't. They've never come close to winning the championship.
No.
They've never been to the finals.
No.
I mean, it's a silly premise, but why would you not? I would trade the entire Vikings team if I was a Vikings fan.
To win the Super Bowl?
I would have the franchise move to not Las Vegas, to wherever. Name a town that needs a team. Nashville. No, they already have a team. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I'd move to Waco, Texas.
Sacramento, your favorite town.
I'd move to Sacramento, but they'd win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I wouldn't trade Anthony. He might win. This was one of the answers. No, because they might win 5 with Anthony Edwards.
Oh, okay, well,
they haven't won one. Yeah. They haven't won one yet. They haven't even been to the finals yet. Of course you'd trade him to win one championship. That's where they are as a franchise, right?
Correct.
I mean,
correct.
Oh, my God, he's the next Kirby Puckett. No, he hasn't won anything yet.
No, got to win.
Hasn't won anything.
Got to win this series to get to that level. You got to get to the final.
And then when you get there, you have to win it.
Then you got to take care of business.
You got to win it.
Like the Twins did that. The Twins
they had two
got to the World
they
Series.
Had 2 chances.
And they won them both.
They won it both times in 7 games.
Right. The Vikings have been to the Super Bowl 4 times and did not win any of them.
They were not close. Particularly any of them either.
Right. And then haven't been back since in any of them.
They were close to getting there in Philadelphia, though. That was for the first drive of the game. When you and I were there looking at each other going, this might happen. Pick 6, look at each other. This is not going to happen. As the link is just coming apart, that like there's bolts flying out of the steel beams. I don't know who it was that brought back Keenum's pass for the touchdown. But when he brought that back, like you and I are in the press box going, the windows are like shaking right now. And this town is going to burn tonight.
And it did.
It did.
And it did. And it did.
Yes.
Let's break. We come back. I want to talk with Mike about some college football topics that are up for debate this week. Never a dull moment in that world. We'll do that. We wrap up our first hour on a rainy Tuesday. Back on Hot Mike on WDAY Extra, Inforum.com right after this. Oh, we got a Hawk email comes in. Hey, Dom and Mike, the Twins are 2-1 in the World Series. You forgot 1965 when they lost to Sandy Koufax.
But in the and this is how old I am, in the modern era.
Yeah.
No, of course I knew that. That was one of the great World Series of all time, actually.
With Sandy Koufax on like 1 day arrest or whatever.
2 days rest and just shut him down.
Speaking of baseball, you had a rather electric column last
week.
You were at Newman Outdoor Field telling the Red Hawks to get out of Newman Outdoor Field.
No, well, that's not typical TV talking head guy. Yep,
of course.
Mr. Howard Stern of Fargo.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's lofty praise there.
Actually, it is.
I'll take that in a hearttrbeat,
despite the weirdness of him.
Tremendous interviewer.
Oh my goodness gracious!
But
look. So my idea. I went to the Hawks game.
Yeah.
I thought, and the gist of my column from the Hawks afternoon game with like 4,000, which was great. It was great.
You're a brave
I
man.
sat there. You thought, okay, so this is the 30th year of the Red Hawks. 30 years.
I know.
For a minor league baseball team that when they first came here in '96, I would have bet they were going to be here 5 years, right? I mean, the Thunder Bay, whatever they were, the Jayhawks or whatever, the Rochester Aces.
Yeah, because I got here in '06. They were in the Northern League
right.
with teams like
the
Edmonton and
Duluth,
Calgary.
Yeah, and the original one was Duluth Superior, Thunder Bay.
St. Paul was in there, right?
Right, and they're still going.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're still here 30 years later. And I'm looking around at the stadium going, this stadium is 30 years old too. And it still looks fine, and it's still okay. But I don't think the Metrodome lasted 30 years.
What year did the Dome open? 83?
I'm not sure Met Stadium lasted 30 years, going back to the 65 World Series. Yeah. Target Center, they're clamoring to get rid of that in the worst way.
And they've already updated or renovated twice in Target Center.
And so I thought, okay, so let's get bold here. Let's look forward, all right? FBS for NDSU, a new stadium for NDSU. If the people around here are going to be too cheap to renovate the Fargo Dome, then hell, let's just build a whole new stadium then. But the baseball side of things, if you look around at what minor league baseball stadiums have become, it's a lot different than it was in 1996. Newman Outdoor Field was the creme de la creme in 1996. And now it's like, it's a nice stadium, but it just doesn't have, the bells and whistles that stadiums now have. And if you look at the way this is all working out, these teams will build a stadium, or the cities will build a stadium for teams, and they will have development around it.
Like a shopping center around
it.
Like
you've been to the Star in Frisco 15 times. That's
I have my own parking spot.
On a much smaller scale, that's what we're talking about.
Right.
The Vikings facility, the TCO thing, it's a football practice deal for sure, but there's also development around it, restaurants,
they built
bars.
a city down there. It's amazing, actually, what they have down there.
And so that's the coming wave, or the modern wave. It's already here. And so if you're going to think big, the Red Hawks are not some fly-by-night operation. They've been here for 30 years.
Yep.
Right? I mean, is it passionate like it is for NDSU football? No. Not like it once was for the first couple of years. It's more of a, let's go there and, I got a free ticket from my neighbor. Let's go drink a few $3 Paps and
be outside.
Have a couple of hot dogs, and we'll be outside. Bring the kids. And nobody really cares about the winning and losing, but that might be typical of a lot of places. I mean, how many people that go to the field level suites at US Bank Stadium so that they can give a high five to the Vikings walking out and drink beer for 4 hours on the sidelines? Yeah. How many of them care about the outcome of the game?
Die-hard Viking fans. Correct.
And so, love North Fargo. It's the second best place to live in Fargo-Moorhead, next to Moorhead.
Correct.
North Fargo is great, but how about building a new stadium with all the development around it in South Fargo, where all the families are?
Yep, correct.
Where all the people are.
Yes.
I mean, Fargo-Moorhead's not a big town, relatively speaking, but North Fargo is not always easy to get to. If you live down by the far south, but 52nd Avenue in Fargo,
that's a long way.
It's a long ways, for relatively speaking.
It's funny you say that, because I heard so much about like how when the Shack was being renovated, from the BSA to the Shack, and the Bison basketball team was playing at Shields Arena. People love going there because they'll
live down there.
Down there.
They'll live down there. Yes. And so that's my big hot idea. judging by the emails that I solicited, which is fine. I wanted to start a discussion.
Yep.
And then also some online stuff. People, they're just not, it's stupid.
Dumb idea.
Okay, but, okay. I mean, in 20 years, when I'm, in a wheelchair with a drool bucket hanging out the side of my mouth and I'm wheeling on the golf course, hey, you gotta play faster. Hey, you're so slow. When I'm out there at Village Green doing that,
That's what you're gonna sound like.
there's going to be like 360,000 people living in Fargo-Moorhead. That's the projection, something like that.
Yep.
I mean, so let's think about the future here. Let's think about now. When I talk about NDSU going FBS and a new stadium, I'm not talking about right now.
No.
Although I am, because I'm sick of watching, USD, UND, Murray State. I'm sick of all these FCS teams. But I'm also thinking 30 years down the road, what could it be?
Correct. What they've actually done at the stadium as well in terms of renovations there. I mean, they added that picnic area that's down the right field line, and they added some more seating down the
kind
left
of a
field
beer
line.
deck thing down the left field line.
Left field line. That's it.
Did they put in a berm? I can't remember if they put in a berm, but it doesn't. But
yeah, they haven't done anything in terms of the main stadium part of it.
Part of the problem is, I'll just say it, I don't know that the powers that be in the city of Fargo, who owns the stadium, the city of Fargo owns Red Hawk Stadium or the Newman Outdoor Field. And by the way, they also own the Fargo Dome.
Correct.
Even though they don't seem to want to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
That these are assets.
They certainly didn't during the vote, during the November vote on the Dome.
I mean, it's like...
No, I totally agree with you there. Yep.
The city of Fargo owns both those stadiums. You wouldn't know it.
It was invisible.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, you wouldn't know it.
I agree with that.
There's nobody advocating. There's nobody... You got two guys in this, or two people, not guys, one woman, one man, who their biggest concern in life is punching down at homeless people so they can be elected mayor next time around when Mahoney gets term limited out. So you got Pepcorn and Turnberg. All they care about is getting their shots in at the homeless people. Dave Pepcorn at times can be this guy that says, yeah, we need an arts center in downtown Fargo. We need to grow. Okay. And Dave, I disagree with him all day long politically and with the crap he does about homeless people and immigrants and all that stuff. But he was on the Fargo Dome Authority for many years, leading that. Take the bull by the horns, Dave, and say, you know what? We need this. We need that. Maybe it's not our top priority right this second, but I'm going to be a leader. Who's a leader right now in Fargo-Moorhead? A political or top, like Dennis Wallaker. We all knew what Dennis wanted.
Yep.
Dennis wanted a big ditch around our city.
Right. Yep.
And he didn't care who he ran over to get it. He didn't care who he pissed off.
Yeah.
He was going to get it.
Yep.
Who's that person now?
I don't have it. As far as I can tell. We got to go, but we do have an email answer. It was the Thunder Bay Whiskey Jacks.
Yes. What did I say? The Jayhawks or something. Whatever. I knew it was a bird.
That's awesome, by the way. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
God, those old now I'm thinking about those old Northern League games. It's like
the Duluth
2008.
Superior Dukes at Wade Stadium, an old WPA built during the Depression.
So I'm working.
Fantastic.
I'm anchoring the weekends. It's like in the middle of July. It's like 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. Or the late great Scotty Miller's on the radio talking to like 8 people. It's in the bottom of the 7th inning. It's 13-8. I'm going to go up to Newman. I'm going to sit with Scotty because, hey, I will be with you, buddy, because we got a long way to go, man. It's 11 o'clock on a Saturday. We're at the bottom of the 6th, and it's 13-9.
Yep.
But
if you view the Red Hawks as a community asset, maybe one that, again, I don't really care if they win or lose.
No, I don't think 90% don't.
I covered the team in 96 and 97 and 98. Okay, regular. I was the beat writer, actually. It mattered then. It was like, wow, this is our pro baseball team. It doesn't matter anymore. Nobody cares. No. But it's still an asset to our community. Yes. And if it's gone, I'm not saying that there's any, again,
right.
none of this came from but you got to treat it like an asset.
Yes, right. Don't ignore it. That's not the way to go about it. Great to see you, bud. Thanks for coming by.
You betcha.
Mike McFeely joins us each and every Tuesday on The Big Show. We'll break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. You'll meet NDSU's newest track standout by way of Canada. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns right after this.
This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, a little delayed here as we start on this Tuesday morning. Kenyon Wingenbach, new Concordia women's basketball assistant coach, going to join us in about a half hour. Looking forward to that. Super pumped to talk to our next guest. We featured yesterday on our Best of the Weekend, the NDSU women's track team captured a 16th Summit League championship in 17 tries, which, again, that's not breaking news. The Bison women win in track. They dominated in several events, including the high jump, where our next guest has participated in 4 times in Summit League events, and she's won it all 4 times. Sources tell us that's pretty good. Arienne Birch joins us this morning, NDSU sophomore who is coming off another Summit League championship. Thanks for doing this morning. Congratulations. Expectations for yourself have to be super high, knowing that you had won it previously. How did you deal with that? Is that something you welcome, or is that pressure? How do you handle that?
Oh, that's an exciting question. When I went to my first Summit League championship and I won, I had no idea that it was a big deal. Like, I was like, oh, hey, another competition. I did it. Good for me.
Did somebody have to tell you, like, hey, this is a big deal?
Yeah, a couple people were like, oh my gosh, you did it. Yeah, I did it. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a big deal.
So to do it again, like you just did a couple days ago, did it register now?
No, that was, I hope my coaches don't hear this. I was competing kind of for fun. I was just like, you know what? Let's try to jump as much as I can.
Well, that's the whole basis of sports is fun, right? That's what it boils down to. Competition is the nice part about it.
They were going on about how, we do this for each other and our team. And it's like, I am doing it for everyone, but I'm also doing it for fun.
That's good to hear, actually. That's refreshing on that. Describe, so you win, where we have a video, you're up on the podium. Were you excited or relieved? What were the emotions on Saturday that you'd won again?
I didn't really have that many emotions, not gonna lie. Like, yeah, I'm happy that I won, but I'm looking for a bigger stage, which sounds a little bit egotistical, but that's okay.
It's good to have goals, right?
Exactly.
When you're in a competition like this, knowing what your own personal, I guess, expectations are, and if you meet them as in you win or you want to jump as high as you can, how do you determine your own goals on that? Yeah, winning's nice, but you want to jump as high as you can.
Well, of course, you want to always jump as high as you can. Like, I'm probably almost always going to be disappointed unless I get a personal best, but who isn't? But I wouldn't say it's a good jump day unless I at least accomplish 2 cues that I've set for myself. And this time my 2 cues was run a circle and keep my knees up. Did I do that? Kind of. I kind of did that. So I kind of reached my goal, but not as much as I wanted to.
You had a couple of attempts at a higher bar and couldn't get over that. So I'm assuming then that's what you're talking about, like, okay, I won, but I didn't go as high as they wanted?
Yeah, well, that would have been a personal best.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been great to clear that. That would have been awesome.
So now you're going on. You have the West Regionals coming up here in a couple weeks. Is that almost unfinished business now? Like, okay, I've done this, but I still haven't jumped as high as I can, or I think I can.
At West, it's more of a you keep going until there's 12 people left. And last year, there was 12 people left at 1.80 meters. And for me, yes, it's unfinished business from last year, but not this year. This year, I know I can do it. I've already done it. It's just a matter of doing it the day of.
Describe, I got to know, on this particular event. Was this one that you've always wanted to do, always done, or how did you get into the high jump?
Okay, so fun fact, this is my 10th year anniversary doing high jump. Not seriously, but, high jump specifically. Yeah. I guess because I just really hated running and my parents both did track, I thought, this is the event for me. A whole 8 steps. Oh, that's too many, actually. But I guess I could be good at it.
So you got into it by spite? Is that probably the best way to describe it?
Yes. Yes.
When did you find out? When did you find out you had like an affinity for it? Like, hey, I'm actually I might be good at this. Was it right away, or how long into it to say that I might be okay at doing this?
Oh, I was like terrible when I started, like below the average for my age. So I was 10 for my age. I was well below average. I didn't think that I had anything until maybe grade 8, till I was like 14, 13, 14. And that was when I won my first national championships by accident.
How's that? Just tell us that story.
Well, there wasn't that many people there. I'm from Canada. They didn't really advertise it that much, so we didn't have a lot of people. There were 3 other girls, and all of their personal bests were super high, and I was there with a really low personal best, and I don't know what happened, but I PB'd, and they didn't jump what they normally jump, so I won.
So what was your reaction on that?
To be honest, I didn't know it was a national championships until my parents told me after.
Wow.
I'm a very oblivious person.
Well, that's probably helped in competition, though, right? To ignore the pressure that's probably on it, you had no idea, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's amazing. I'm always amazed at this event because it's not a natural motion. So how do you, for those laymen, us that I have no athletic ability whatsoever, how do you do it? How do you practice and get good at an event like this?
Well, you got to start off by knowing how to run a circle, which is honestly harder. It's harder than you think it is.
Yeah.
Running a circle the way it needs to be ran in order to have the physics bring you over a bar. I still personally, I'm not there yet. Like, I still have so much room to grow. And sometimes I question how much I actually know about the sport that I'm kind of good at.
Hey, you said oblivious. That's maybe the best way to go about it then, right?
Yes.
So you mentioned you're from Canada, you're from Mississauga, which is just outside of Toronto. How in the world did you get to Fargo?
There are a couple of vertical jumps coaches in Canada, but not at the intensity that I wanted. So I knew I was going to go to the States. I didn't know where I was going to go, but my ex-coach was like, hey, I know this guy he's in North Dakota. I was like, okay, I have no particular preference on where I go. And then I saw the facility. I was like, whoa, it's a 5-minute walk from where I live, not an hour drive. That was that facility and coaches. That's how.
That was when you got here. I mean, I know climate wise, it's a bit similar. Wind is way more than I know than what you're used to. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, because
yeah.
I'm actually from the other side of the lake in New York, from where you grew up.
Right. Okay. So that is pretty similar.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. The adjustment wise of coming here and going to school, what was that like for you? Granted, you're only a year and a half into it, almost 2 years into it now.
Well, I'm not someone who gets homesick, so it's been pretty awesome, pretty easy transition. I enjoy waking up and just being able to go to school and then just going to the track.
And to have the kind of success, I know it's not necessarily what you maybe anticipated or wanted, but to have it, what has that been like to adjust to? That I'm doing this and it's gone pretty well.
Well, I'm a funny person. It may look like it's been going well, but I've had a lot of hardships personally. Like, I'm pretty good. I'd say I'm pretty good. But I've also struggled with not being good enough despite all the success. So it's really difficult to say.
So now look ahead for people that don't, Arienne, that follow track and follow the schedule. What's ahead here? We got the West Regionals. You've already competed in the U20 World Champ. You've already been on some big stages, and you haven't done this all that long. Just when I say that, what goes through your mind?
Well, I'm just looking for a bigger stage. College is not the end zone. I know there's a huge field ahead of me.
Has Olympics always been on the radar then? Has that always been the end goal?
Yep, always.
Wow.
Like, even if it wasn't track, I said, I'm going to the Olympics.
Where does that come from?
I have no idea. Well, when you watch the Olympics, you're like, oh my gosh, these are the best people in the world.
Yep.
I want to do that. And you realize you actually can do that. You just got to start the journey and do the journey.
Is there a height that you have, like, in your mind, like, I can do this? This is the goal. Which one is it set or no?
Well, okay. Based on my physical abilities right now, I'm pretty sure I could get 1.90 meters. It's just about fine tuning. If I want to go onto the world stage more often, for example, the Olympics, 197 is what I would need.
Holy cow. That's still some way to go then, huh?
Yeah, every centimeter counts.
How do you feel on the metric system? Have you adjusted to that? Are you okay with that or no?
Oh, I've always been on the metric system.
And the fact
From Canada.
But the fact that we're not, is that how agitating is that?
Very. Oh my god!
Like,
I keep asking people what the temperature is, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, Fahrenheit and Celsius were way off, but like inches and feet, like you have no desire to learn that, or what?
I have a good perception of it because I did compete at some high school meets, but off the top of my head, I'm not very good at it.
I think on the reversal, probably, I would say 9 out of 10 Americans would probably have no idea on the metric system. They would be completely lost, and I would raise my hand on one of them. I would.
Yeah. Okay.
That would not.
I can't. I don't know. I don't know what 190 is in imperial. I'm sorry.
It's up there. I'd say that. Well, roughly that's over 7.5 feet. Probably that's up there. So, off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'm not a great math mind, but that would just be off the top of my head on that. You mentioned you don't get homesick. What has it been like to be part of this kind of team? Knowing North Dakota State and track has had amazing success. Did you know that, or is that something you found out when you got here?
I had no idea. I personally didn't look at the team because I've been unattached for a really long time. So having a team dynamic, obviously it was going to be a huge change no matter what kind of team we had. So it was like a hit or miss. It's pretty great. I didn't know that we were pretty good.
You mentioned competing unattached. To now be part of a team, what has that transition been like?
Well, okay, so I competed unattached for track. I also did rowing for a while, and that was a team event. So like, it was a completely different kind of team, though. We're all kind of individual, doing individual events, but we're like working together to win. Whereas in rowing, you all just do the same thing.
Yeah. Has rowing helped you for the high jump? Is there anything that you did there that it's helped you for what you do now?
I mean, all of the track coaches in Canada said that it was working against me, but I'm also one of the best in Canada. So I would say that it's helped me develop my explosive material and my discipline.
That's awesome. Two last things before I let you go. You mentioned back home. Do they know how much of a big deal you are here? The kind of success you've had, is that translated to back home?
Oh, they are aware, and they're a little bit devastated that they let me go so easily.
That's amazing.
Those aren't my words.
Yeah.
What I've been told, it's what I've heard.
Wow. The decision to come here, obviously it's paid off. But now if I were to have told you this when you decided to come to Fargo 2 years ago, that this is going to happen, would you have believed me that this kind of success you've had this early?
I don't want to be that guy, but yes. Yes, I would. My standards are super high. Like, I'm still not where I think I want to be this year and last year too.
No, in the last thing before I let you go, when you compete in events and the high jump specifically, do you know like who the best one? Like in track, we know, like who's fast. In this kind, do you know? All right, this person we know. I know she jumps really high. This one, is that readily evident or not so much?
I don't keep track of other people, if I'm being honest. Like, I'll watch global events and I'll be like, hey, I recognize that face. she jumped really high that one time. But otherwise, I try to just focus on myself, because focusing on other people, what am I going to do?
Yeah. This was great. I really appreciate you doing this today. Thanks so much for the time. Congratulations, and good luck coming up in a couple weeks, okay?
Thank you. It's going to go great.
Thanks for the time. Arienne Birch joining us, NDSU sophomore high jumper, the champion in the Summit League this past weekend. 4 times over now that she's won in both Summit League indoor, outdoor high jump last year, indoor, outdoor this year. That was fantastic. Very rarely do you actually get somebody as honest as she was, and I appreciate that. And one to keep an eye on, folks. You know, we talk all about the great athletes around our area. That's another one that you may not know that you just got introduced to now. And she's got high expectations for herself, and so far she's been able to accomplish everything that she's set out to do. We'll keep an eye on that coming up in a couple weeks' time when the West Regionals get going. I believe they're in Austin, down at the University of Texas, coming up at the end of next week. We're due for a break. We caught up. We have a few emails to get to and get back on track here on this Tuesday morning. Back on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra right after this. Welcome back, everybody. That was great. Really appreciate Arienne Birch joining us. Speaking of track, we are super excited to get ready for this year's state track meet, which you will see on WDAY Extra. Our coverage begins Thursday. You'll see every event streaming. That begins Thursday, 3:30 on WDAY Plus. Television coverage will begin on Friday at 1 o'clock from Bismarck, from the MDU Resources Community Bowl. It's just the bowl. It always is to anybody that's been to Bismarck. And then Saturday for Championship Saturday and all the running events, 11 a.m. start on Extra. Looks like weather's going to be dynamite, which anybody that's gone and covered this event or been to this event knows we've run the gamut out there, whether it's been I got heat stroke out there one year and also had my winter coat one year. So you can go pretty much A to Z. Looks like we're not going to have that, thankfully, this coming weekend. But really excited. We got a huge team of people that are leaving today, more tomorrow, and then obviously for coverage beginning on Thursday. So looking forward to that, and first time that we're bringing you that, and that's on top of what we got coming next week is the end of the North Dakota spring sports season, where we've got baseball, softball, tennis, and soccer all wrapping up. We'll have coverage of all those sports beginning next Thursday, and we'll give you all the info on that coming up later on in the week. That was good stuff with Arienne Birch. And if you missed it, we'll podcast that later to people that got a chance to not see it or didn't hear it. That's coming up later, and we'll post that later on in the day. The Summit League baseball tournament will begin tomorrow in Omaha. The Bison are the 2 seed. They'll face the homestanding Mavericks tomorrow night, Oral Roberts and South Dakota State. The other 2 teams, the All Summit League team was just announced. Pitcher of the year, guy that we've had on our program before, Nolan Johnson out of Lakeville, Minnesota, has been named the Summit League Pitcher of the Year at a dynamite year for North Dakota State. He's joined by Jake Schaffner as the Defensive Player of the Year. Schaffner, who is now in his second first-team Summit League selection. That's a guy you worry if he's going to stick around, that there might be larger offers coming in his way. Young man from Wisconsin that we did a story on him last year. Impressive guy. Joined on the first team is Danny Lackenmeyer, freshman out of the Twin Cities, who's been a dynamite reliever. So the Bison get a handful of guys on the first team for a team that came roaring out of the gates to start conference play and then really scuffled on the way home. But as we were talking about yesterday when Kolpak was on the show, they got a chance to win this thing. They got the pitching to do it, starting with Johnson right off the hop. Logan Knight, another Canadian, has been really good. And another Canadian, I did a story on him last month, Dante Smith, who was selected to the All-League second team, another really good player on their roster. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Bison play tomorrow night in that. Email comes in. Dom, in metric, 1.97 is approximately 6 feet 5 inches plus I did do the math on that during the break. I appreciate that from what Arienne said last segment on getting the metric system converted over to what we use. But that's really high. That is a high jump, and no pun intended on that, to try and to make it. But you heard her. She's as confident as an athlete I've run across, and her goals are Olympics or bust. And whether that's 2028 or 2032, that's yet to be seen. But she's one of the best that can. And the Bison have done this before. Aaron Teschuk, you'll remember, was a tremendous athlete at North Dakota State, Canadian, that went and represented Canada at the Olympics in 2016 in Rio. Fabulous that the Bison have gone down that road, and they may have another one in Birch. One may has a chance to break through. But appreciate that email. One other one comes in before we go to break. Dom, what are your thoughts on the Wolves rookies getting a chance to play in this series? 0. Dillingham and Shannon have not played other than blowouts. I don't see them getting on the floor. It's the guys they mentioned off the top. It's Nas, got to be good. Dante's got to hit some shots. The Wolves bench, guys 6, 7, and 8, have got to outplay the Thunder guys 6, 7, and 8. They do that, they can win this series. In my opinion, that's how this comes down. We'll break. We come back. We'll have some more hoops talk on the other side of the break. Kenyon Wingenbach will join us on leaving the high school game for the college ranks. That's coming up. We come back on Hot Mic on a Tuesday morning after this. Welcome back, everybody. Rainy Tuesday morning, final half hour of the show. Get your full ready for tonight's game coming up in just a little bit. Actually, our next guest can certainly do that. Saw late yesterday afternoon, word got out that Cheyenne girls basketball is going to need a new head coach because the current head coach is heading to the college game. Kenyon Wingenbach has agreed to become Kim Wager's new assistant coach for the Cobbers at Concordia. And he joins us this morning to chat about that. It's great to see you. Let's first get the big stuff out of the way. How do the Wolves win this series against the Thunder?
Oh, this is going to be the big one, but man, they've been so fun to watch. I think the big thing has been Julius Randle is awesome. Perfect for the playoffs. He'll drive you crazy during the regular season, but man, he has been lights out. So, like my son says, my son knows everything. He's 9, so he said, every single guy, every star that the Thunder has, the Wolves have somebody to guard them. So. We're going to go for the Wolves here in 6.
Okay, Wolves in 6. There it is. Love it. I was just talking about before you came on, the state track meet gets going tomorrow. Has that not been renamed for your dad yet? He owns that place. Come on. What's going on?
Yeah, man, that's been I've never experienced a Class B state tournament for basketball because we're always still playing, but to me, it's the state meet. I know Steve Lockway said the same thing, and I heard you guys are broadcasting it this year. Yep. And from 94 to 2023, I didn't miss a state track meet.
Wow! Holy cow!
Yeah, it's the best event, and it's always going to be super cold and rainy one day, and you're going to get sunburnt the next day, and that's just how it goes. But what an event. It's going to be outstanding again this year.
I call it North Dakota's biggest family reunion because everybody goes. Everybody has a track team that you get to see people once a year, and it's in Bismarck at that event.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, it's actually like a family reunion because we had obviously my dad, but my uncle, and then my brother-in-law, my mother-in-law, and they were all coaching different teams. And so we were glued to the track for everything because we've got, athletes to cheer on everywhere. So it's been an awesome event, and it just keeps getting better.
I was there. You were there, 2010. Everyone was there when Laura Raessler got beat by Morgan Milbrath from Minot, who was a tremendous athlete in her own right. We didn't know her then. That was one. I remember I called back to the station hey, we got break. Laura Raessler just got beat, and she doesn't lose ever.
Yeah, so Morgan has been an assistant
with
for
you
me
guys.
the last 4 years. So picking her brain and being around her and allowing our kids to kind of get inside an elite athlete like that. But I remember that too, and it was kind of shocking, right? Because you think Laura's just a machine, like a robot, and she just goes out and does her thing, and Morgan got her. But outstanding.
Do your current team know how much of a stud Morgan was in high school and college?
I try to remind them as many times as possible. Yeah. So, I mean, I can't brag about myself, so I may as well brag about her. So, yes, they are aware, and we make it well known that. I mean, even around town, you see the NDSU bus and her face.
Yes,
is on it.
correct.
Yes. So. They know who she is and what she's accomplished, and she's been a huge asset to our program.
It was a stud for the Bison track team as well, part of their historic relay team that made it to Oregon a few years ago. All right, let's chat about you, my man. First, congratulations. Second, how did this come about of getting in the college game and going to work for the Cobbers?
For me, it's never been something that I've really pursued. I've always just tried to make the best of where I'm at, and if the next opportunity arises and it feels good and everything lines up, that's how I usually go about things. So for this, I got connected with Lori Sieben through Ron Metz in the Lions. That should be named after Metz, though. The Lions Invitational should be the Metz Invitational. But anyway, so I got to know Lori about 10 years ago, and then Terry Porter, I think everybody knows Terry. And so when Peyton Breitenbach was transferring from Minot, I tried to talk her back into playing, and I got connected with Kim Wagers from or through Terry and Lori, and that's how I got connected with Kim, and that was about a year and a half ago. So since then, when I heard the job was opened up, then I talked to my family, and we were all in, and we went for it.
When called that you're going to get hired, then did it click for real? Like, okay, this is going to happen. Like, what were your emotions? Find out this is a done deal.
Well, last Thursday night is when I got the offer, but when I went in and they gave me a tour of the facility, and I got to meet a bunch of different people from the staffs of basketball, football, the AD, everything just felt like a great fit for me. And I've had enough people that have played at Concordia and have played for Kim, and nobody has anything bad to say ever, which is very rare, right? Because somebody's always got something to complain about, especially with basketball. And so I mean, everything just felt perfect, and I think I can be an asset to that program and what Kim's building.
You've been a staple of our show since you got the job at Cheyenne in the summer. I remember you came on in 2021 when you got hired. Did you accomplish what you wanted to over the 4 years at Cheyenne?
100%, and if not more. Like, I thought, I knew we had potential, but I didn't know anything. You know, like I had been at Century for so long. That's the only thing you know. And you go somewhere else, and you got to figure it out on the fly. And how quickly our players and our coaches adapted to the vision I had, the vision of how to build a program. And I wanted to keep those short-term goals with that group we had coming in that I thought was very talented, but also the long-term when they graduate. And I thought we did everything we said we were going to do, and we were relevant all 4 years, which is what my goal was. I want to be relevant every single year. When March comes around, we're in the picture. So I think it was an amazing ride, and like I told the kids, my decision to go to Concordia has nothing to do with what they did or didn't do, or administration or AD. It has nothing to do with that. It's just it's for me to pursue the next level, and I think a lot of people understand that.
That conversation, though, Kenyon, that's got to be difficult. What was that like to tell the team?
Yeah, so that was last Friday morning. I called a team meeting, and I think there's a few of them. Like I had already scheduled our summer stuff and laid it out, and we had a team meeting like 2 weeks after the season. Like we're just ready to go, you know.
Yep.
So they didn't hear from me for a little bit, and I'm sure some of them were suspecting something was up, but I got to tell them face to face, and I was the one that got to tell them. And I think, you know, especially with how fast news travels, I thought that was the best way to go. Yeah. You know, because I told people, you know, our meeting's at 7:55. By 7:56, this is public news. It's going to spread like wildfire, you know. So yep. I had made sure I told everybody that I needed to tell before I told the girls. I kept my circle small, and I got to tell them face to face. And I'm meeting with a few of them individually, just to transition moving forward. But I have their back. They know that. And again, it's nothing they did or didn't do. I appreciate everything they put into the program, and I hope they can respect my decision.
What is the biggest challenge you have ahead of you that you haven't done yet? Recruiting comes right to mind. What is challenge number one now for the new job?
Just the process. I think it differs from staff to staff. So just figuring out what Kim's looking for, the process that they go through. But at the end of the day, everybody just keeps telling me it's about relationships. And, you know, being in education my whole career, and trying to teach, you know, 12 and 13-year-old boys algebra, pre-algebra, you got to develop relationships, because they're not going to do that if you don't have a good relationship. So, you know, I've been doing that my whole life, and you know, I need experience, obviously, but this is a great spot, and I think I'll be able to pick it up, and we'll see how it goes.
You and I have talked almost every time you've come on my show, or when I've seen you out, about the level of talent in the area, how much better it's getting. I don't want to get you in trouble now before you get the new job about recruiting and talk about specific players, but you know where to find players now. How much of an advantage do you think you have, knowing full well you've seen a lot of these players up close and play?
Yeah, I think that's North Dakota's definitely got a lot of players that can play, and it's at all three levels. And I think the relationships I've made in the West and the East is going to be very valuable. And I think, you know, Terry Porter's the same way. He's got the whole state covered. So between the two of us, and then Kim's got Minnesota, you know, she owns Minnesota, and Terry and I can get off just like everybody in North Dakota. If you get them talking about basketball, it's not even like 6 degrees of separation. It's like one. Right. It's like, oh yeah, I know who that is. Yeah. So to give you a perfect example, Coach Metz grew up in Carson, and Terry Porter was Coach Metz's first coach in high school basketball. Coach Metz wore number 15 because his idol wore number 15, and that was my dad. Wow. My dad was 15 at Carson 5 years before Ron Metz.
Wow.
And then I was number 15 at Century, and my brother was. But the reason I was 15 is because, and I didn't know my dad was number 15. So the reason I wore 15 for Century was when I was a freshman. I looked through the whole senior list, and I tried to find the smallest kid on the roster, and he was 15, and I knew that jersey would fit me. So that's how I wore 15. And it ends up being this like family number that's passed down. My brother-in-law, who just graduated at UND playing football there, he was 15. Wow. So it's been but that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's so many connections like that if you are around long enough, and it's just it's an awesome thing to be a part of.
All right, so now you're getting out so you can burn things to the ground. 3-class basketball, has it worked the 2 years that you've seen it?
100%. Yeah, 100%. And I'm kind of glad that they, you know, with Valley and Devil's Lake experiencing so much success, and Kindred, letting it play out just a little bit longer.
Okay.
I think that was the right call. I know we were all kind of wondering what was going to happen, and they all petitioned, and we were totally fine with that. But the fact that the board saw, like, let's just wait a little bit longer and before we start to mess with this thing. But I think I don't know how you can say that the old system was better, especially where we're at now.
Nope.
So it's been great in my eyes.
Well, it's great to see you, bud. Congratulations on the new gig. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the sidelines now in the MIAC coming up this coming winter. Congrats. Enjoy you got like a week off where you get the new job, right?
Yeah, a week off. Yep. And I got to purchase some maroon. I've never worn maroon in my entire life. So,
well, that's Bismarck colors. You can't wear Bismarck colors. So
that's right. So I'm going to be wearing maroon. I'm going to be coaching college. It's all different. So I'm excited for the new chapter.
Thanks for the time, bud. Be well. We'll talk soon, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, Tom.
Kenyon Wingenbach joining us now. I could say former Cheyenne girls basketball head coach. He's taken over as Concordia's top assistant on the women's side. Appreciate that. There is no maroon in the Wingenbach household. If anybody knows the Century Bismarck rivalry, that goes without saying. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll set you up for tonight's showdown. Game 1, Wolves Thunder. And we'll wrap things up here on a rainy Tuesday morning. Back on Hot Mic after this. All right, wrapping things up here on this Tuesday morning. Reminder, North Dakota State men's basketball head coach Dave Richmond will join us tomorrow, 10 a.m. Looking forward to that conversation as the Bison have retooled their roster. Not done yet, but Dave will be in studio for about a half hour, 45 minutes, as long as he can tolerate me, which is about then. I'm sure there'll be some barbs flying, but looking forward to that coming up tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Looking forward to Dave stopping by, getting an update on what's going on with Bison Hoops. This from Adam Schefter earlier. We're talking the NFL owner meetings are underway. Nothing yet on the tush push, but apparently flag football with the NFL is going to happen. Says ESPN sources, a vote to allow NFL players to participate in flag football for the first time during the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles is expected to pass at today's league meeting in Minneapolis. Nothing is official yet, but as one source said about today's vote, quote, Olympics should be easy. So, NFL wants in, man. I mean, everybody wants in the party in the Olympics. Obviously, the NBA has its deal. I think baseball has talked about stopping. Eric, am I making that up? Hasn't baseball talked about stopping its season to let its players play in the Olympic baseball tournament? If I thought we did that story. Okay, yeah, they were not gonna do the All-Star game that particular year in baseball, and now football is gonna have the best. So are we gonna have like Patrick Mahomes throwing to Justin Jefferson in the Olympic Games? Hey, if you could have breakdancing in like we had this past summer, then we can do flag football. That's all I'll say on that. The NFL wants in. They're a global deal. Look where they're playing games this coming year. They're going to be in Brazil, Spain, Germany, Ireland, England. They want to keep going. The Olympics are the fast track of that. So sounds like that's going to be a go. As for the other decisions, nothing has come down the pipe on that. I'm sure we'll get some resolution later today, and we can chat about it on the show tomorrow. So we'll wait and see what's going on there. We do it each and every day. Before we wrap up the show, let's do some What to Watch. Presented by Northwestern Mutual. All right, here's our TV lineup for things to check out tonight. Clearly, it starts Wolves and Thunder, 7:30 ESPN. They're bringing the whole set on the road. Pregame at 7. 7:30. 7:30 start time. You got no complaints. Not 8:30, not 9, not 9:30. We got 7:30 tonight. Game will be over by 10. It'll be tremendous. Can't wait. ESPN tonight. Guardians of the Twins are allegedly going to try and play tonight. Weather looks not great. They're going to resume the game in the fourth inning, 5 o'clock on Twins.tv, and then play the regularly scheduled game a half hour after that. We will see if they play anything coming up later tonight. It's also the resumption of the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. Game 1 of the East Finals, Carolina and Florida, 7 o'clock on TNT in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll recap that coming up on the show as well tomorrow. We got to roll. Our thanks to Kenyon Wingenbach, to Mike McFeely, to Arienne Birch. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Stay dry, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you back here tomorrow.